With that, we bring in Nigel Farage, former UK Independence Party leader, former European Parliament member, and now a host at GB News. Nigel, great to have you with us. There's so much going on here, but I want to ask you about this very interesting back and forth, because we've watched the debilitating losses that have happened over the past week or so. How do you read Putin's posture in this meeting with Xi?
He's under pressure, real pressure. I mean, on the one hand, of course, he's got new markets. The Chinese are now buying more gas and oil than they were before the Ukraine war. India, too, are buying more of his products. And Europe is being squeezed. I mean, partly through their own stupidity, but Europe is being squeezed very hard. But China, look, I can't stand the Chinese regime, but let's be honest, they are potentially the biggest peace broker in the world right now. Putin needs China economically, desperately. China have never fully backed his war in Ukraine. And a Putin under pressure, the real worry is, would he use limited tactical battlefield nuclear weapons? I sense, looking at the Chinese premier today and the words he's using, that actually the best guarantee against that could be China.
Interesting. I mean, and that, when you think about it, that's always been sort of their role with North Korea as well, just sort of tempering that relationship, right?
That's right.
But, I mean, Xi doesn't really need to back anything in terms of the Ukraine war, right? He's got a great business relationship that's going on here. He doesn't need to come out with a full-throated endorsement of the Ukraine war. He's getting cheap oil, and he likes that arrangement.
He's buying gas and oil well below global prices. China desperately needs energy. It needs coal too. He's in a very, very powerful position. But when you look at it, almost everything happening in the world leads to China becoming more dominant and more powerful. So in the short term, he could be a force for good over Putin in Ukraine, but longer term, the power of China is going to be the biggest external problem we face over the next decades.
Let's listen to this, because we've really been hearing about this since the Olympics, since February 24th, when we heard about the two countries having this no-limits friendship that they wanted to announce to the world. That was right before the Russia invasion in Ukraine. But here's President Xi today at this meeting. Watch.
China is willing to work with Russia to demonstrate the responsibility of a major country, play a leading role, and inject stability into a turbulent world.
So this is where we're going to look for stability in a turbulent world, the relationship between Russia and China?
Yeah, look, I wish it wasn't the way that it is. But as I repeat the point, right now, Putin under pressure, losing thousands of men, lost 2,000 square miles of territory over the course of the last couple of weeks. My fear was, would he turn to those nuclear weapons, albeit limited tactical battlefield weapons? I sense with China there, he won't do it.
So, I mean, it's a real question, especially with Ukraine putting pressure on Crimea as well. So you have a new prime minister here. She has been very strong, as has Ben Wallace, the defense minister, on basically making sure that Russia does not win in Ukraine.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's American weapons and British weapons that are turning the tide of this war for the moment. But it's all too easy in war to say, well, just because the last couple of weeks have gone Ukraine's way, that's how it's going to end. This is far from over, but Putin has taken a real military beating in the last couple of weeks. He looks anxious. He looks unwell. There is something wrong with him. I don't know what it is. Is it thyroid? Is it Parkinson's? And you're beginning to see within Russia, interestingly, the more nationalistic Russians now turning against Putin because they can't bear these military defeats. He may be internally in a bit more trouble than we realize.
And how does this play in to China when they look at this situation? They see the United States and the United Kingdom making this big military commitment to Ukraine, and they think on their own about making a move in Taiwan.
Well, they have seen a level of commitment from the West in Ukraine, but it's been weapons. It's not been men and women. It's not been naval vessels. It's not been our own tanks. Let's face it, if China launched an all-out assault on Taiwan, what would America do? Nothing. I mean, that's the truth of it. That is the truth of it. Think what the cost would be. Think what the cost would be. Think what Iwo Jima cost America, 75 years ago. You'd be looking at an Iwo Jima type situation times 5, times 10. So if China wants to do it, it can do it. But China also needs to keep its markets. So there's a very fine balancing act there.
Fine balancing act and a lot of things that could easily shift in a very dangerous situation.
And sometimes by accident.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Nigel, thank you. Great to be with you. Great to be with you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Brian Kilmeade. I want you to do me a favor. I want you to click to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page. This is the only way that I know for sure that you're not going to miss any great commentary, any great news bites, any great interviews coming your way on Fox. You can get it all here on YouTube. So subscribe right now.